Okay, this is John Burroughs again, continuing on with my autobiography, 7 Years to Life. This is chapter 24, and it's called Teenage Injustice. The summer between 8th grade and my freshman year was pretty uneventful except for two or three unfortunate incidences. Eddie, his brother Danny, and I played basketball almost every day that summer. We decided we need a break from basketball, and we went to our separate homes to search for baseball equipment that we had not used in years. We agreed that we would meet back at the local grammar school nearby, which happened to have a baseball field. When all three of us arrived with our equipment, we threw it on the ground and frantically sorted it out because we had become quite anxious to throw the ball around, in addition to finding out which one of us hit the longest ball. To our dismay, we had everything we needed except the baseball. Though California was indeed different from New York, the basic premise of allowance and spending it wisely was still the same. Eddie and Dan had already spent their allowance, and even though I had already spent mine, I was reasonably sure that I could convince my mother to buy a baseball for me. However, she was at work, and there was no way I was going to wait until tomorrow. After all, she was one that taught me the joys of baseball and the New York Yankees. Being the impatient quick start that I am, I told those guys I was going to go to Macy's in order to steal a baseball from their sports department and that I would be back shortly. I do not think Macy's has a sporting department today, but it did back then. Ed and Dan emphatically tried to talk me out of this, but I was having none of it. After all, I had been through Devil's Den and was from the streets of New York, so nothing scared me. They realized they could not talk me out of it, so I took off for Macy's, relishing the fact that I would be coming home a hero. I can't lie. I opened the door to Macy's, and as I was looking for the sports department, my fear swelled inside of me to the point where I thought I might explode. Some hero. I was scared shitless. But as usual, I had put on this show of false bravado, and I refused to come back empty-handed. Not only did I come back empty-handed, I did not come back for roughly 3 hours. The store security had me on tape, stuffing the baseball down the front of my pants. The closer I got to the exit doors, the more my confidence grew, and when I actually exited the store, I thought I was home free. However, this massive guy and petite, uglier-than-hell lady grabbed me within 10 seconds of exiting and escorted me back to the security office and showed me the tape. At this point, the lady told me to take the baseball out of my pants, and being the wise ass that I was, I told her to have at it. I probably should have kept my mouth shut and did what I was told. I don't know if this was true or not, but the lady said if I had just been polite and given her the ball, that she would have let me go with just a warning, and I think she would have. Anyway, they decided to press charges for stealing a fucking baseball. I asked them, since they had me on camera, why they just didn't grab me before I got outside. That was when I found out the technicality of the shoplifting law, at least at the time, that while I was still in the store, they could not prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had no intention of paying for the merchandise. Walking outside with the merchandise that was still not paid for was the proof needed to show my true intent. It has probably occurred to you, that many kids my age have shoplifted, and some have been caught, and some have never been caught, and that the whole incident seems so minor that why even include it in this book? Normally, I would agree with you regarding the triviality of this incident, but it is the aftermath that compelled me to include it. I live in a city presently where the police force is so undermanned that they rarely physically respond to auto accidents much less crimes of shoplifting, where the total loss is less than 100, much less $2.50, as was the retail amount of the baseball. This is unfortunate because at the age of 13 in a young man's life is when a dedicated police officer, if given the time, can successfully mentor a teenager who is beginning to lose his or her way. I know this because of the punishment that I was given because I was too impatient to wait one more day. Believe it or not, I was assigned to a probation officer by the name of Officer Joinville for 6 months. I remember my first meeting with him, and he said to me, "You must really enjoy baseball. I know I do, and really love the game and played all through college. You know, I probably would have tried the same thing because at your age, I would have figured that how much trouble can I actually get into just because I stole a baseball? I think you also know that you have been successful in stealing it, and the trouble it took to do so would have been enraged if someone turned around and successfully stole it from you. Let me tell you what the terms of your 6 months probation will be. Number 1, you will have to report to me once a week. You will also be required to keep a diary for each day of the week. Number 2, you will need to provide at least 60 hours of community service during your 6-month probation. You will need to record in your diary where, when, and how long you provided service. You will also have to record a contact name and phone number for whatever institution or person that you helped out. Finally, I can tell by your New York accent and attitude that there is a certain style of communication that you use and prefer, and out of everything he has said to me so far, this is when I knew he was for real and a good man. So let me put it to you this way. Stay the fuck out of trouble for the next 6 months, and you will be surprised that if you do everything I have asked of you, you will experience a profound change. You will see from upcoming stories that I still have many issues, but since my experience with Officer Joinville, I only stole one more time in my 53 years, and that situation was completely different and will be explained much later in the book. I remember about 15 years later, I was reading in the local newspaper how Officer Joinville had made lieutenant and how much he was respected by young and old alike. About 4 years later, I read in that very same newspaper that he was shot and killed in the course of duty. I cried long and loud that night, and I am on the verge of tears now as I finish writing about him. Men of his caliber, integrity, reliability, and the genuine belief that people are capable of great change is a true rarity in today's society. I look forward to each and every half-hour meeting that I had with him during my 6-month probation. In my opinion, he was the type of person that inspired trust through honesty, and comparatively to today's politicians, he would have made a great patriot and president.